You're listening to All Things 3D, where we talk about the world of fabricating, designing, and capturing in the third dimension.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, this is Mike Balzer and All Things 3D, 3D in Review for Friday, the 20th of May, 2016. And what we're seeing right now is what's been going on in the last couple of days. In fact, it's still going on today, and that is Google I/O. And they introduced some really interesting stuff in the field of VR. Some people were assuming there would be a new VR headset or some type of standalone device. There was not, but I thought more exciting, an actual API and SDK. And we'll talk about that a little bit later and my adventures in using the Unreal 4 engine to actually build something. And so pretty cool. So let's get right into it. We have a special guest today. And we don't want to watch that again. And that is Dmitry, from a company that just went out on IndieGoGo and is already halfway there. And the product, I think, is called VicoVR. Is that correct, Dmitry?
Yes, that's correct.
Again, audience, I apologize for audio. He's actually on site, so he's doing this through his phone. So, you know, like we do with many of our guest crashers, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and the company, and then we'll get into the product itself.
I'm co-founder of the 3D company, and our company started 5 years ago with the idea to bring body tracking software to alternative platforms apart from Microsoft Kinect. And a year and a half we started, we noticed virtual reality become more and more popular, and we kind of identified that 3D tracking can solve several problems of virtual reality, especially mobile virtual reality. It's full body tracking and positional tracking for mobile headset. So a year and a half we started design of VicoVR dev center, and just a couple of days ago we launched IndieGoGo campaign for VicoVR dev sensor. It's basically a body controller that connects directly to mobile headset like VR or Daydream platform.
Yeah, so that's actually getting into the next question. And again, Dmitry, probably what I'll do is I'll kind of ask some lead-in questions and hopefully fill in some of the blanks because my audio is a little bit better. But as I mentioned in one of my questions, and it's VicoVR, is that correct?
Yep, correct.
Okay. It looks a lot like an Asus Action. How close am I to the truth there? Does it use the same type of sensor technology?
We using similar technology. Actually, VicoVR is similar to Microsoft Kinect, as it uses the same bundle of depth sensing technology and body tracking middleware. The only difference.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That we using embedded processing unit with our own proprietary middleware, result of 5 years of work. And the depth sensing module, we basically not using Kinect, we're using generic depth module designed and built by Orbic.
So by Orbic, okay. So like Orbic, using the OpenNI platform, is that correct?
No, it's proprietary SDK. We supporting Android and later iOS platform. So we not support OpenNI.
And when you say Kinect technology, you're talking about the Kinect 1.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
No,
so,
I mean in general, depth sensing technology. That's sensors that acquire 3D informational scene. Because several types of technology.
So I don't know if you had a chance to look up my background, but I have a little bit of expertise in development using the occipital structure sensor. As you know, is very similar to this. It just does not include the RGB camera. What makes this difference, and again, the only reason that I'm leading in with questions and information is because of the poor quality of audio on your end, is this thing has a built-in ARM processor and a Bluetooth connection, so that this is completely wireless to a mobile headset. And in saying a mobile headset, does this both include Android and iOS?
Currently we support Android and iOS. iOS we support the final product because it takes more work to support iOS.
Okay, so currently it is only for Android.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me kind of scroll through the IndieGoGo, and actually you have a video, so let me go ahead and play that. And I don't think we'll probably hear the audio here. So there's a narrator, and he kind of talks about why, as you can see in the illustrations there, you're a spectator, and the purpose of this product is to allow you full body interaction. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Full body and positional tracking for mobile. Basically, that's what Daydream was promised to deliver, and it failed. So we're closing this gap.
So, you know, and I'm going to kind of move right into one of the other questions that I had, and that is actually the Microsoft Kinect, even though it was very popular in the development and the hacker community, as a commercial product, it didn't do too well. What makes you feel that your product will have a better chance?
Yes, it's a good question, but Microsoft Kinect was best-selling gadget in history at some point, and they sold over 25 million units. What it failed is it's not a substitute for any other peripheral devices. It just has some niche, and they sold games worth of over $2 billion. So it's kind of improved market opportunity, and we believe the similar market opportunity exists for mobile platforms. Basically, it's Android and iOS, currently over 2 billion devices, and John Carmack said he envisioning billions of mobile virtual reality headsets. So it's kind of sizable market, and we feel it's a great opportunity. And again, it's not substitute for any other peripheral device. It should find its niche, it's full body tracking, it's positional tracking, and it's hologram, holopresence, ability to capture full body and transmit to your mobile device. So
and I was going to actually bring that up after we watch the video here, which is almost over. But as you can see here, I mean, it's very similar to some Kinect demos that I've seen, where essentially you stand in front of the module, and then it tracks multiple points. In fact, I'll go ahead and pause it. And the number of points, let's get into some specs here. Let's see. Is it, let's see, 19, right? 19. And it does this all through Bluetooth. Now, the concern I have with Bluetooth is in the past, Bluetooth 1 has a fairly limited range and has been kind of sketchy if you move out of those boundaries. And also latency. How have you overcome that in order to provide, you know, you move your hand and it's not a few seconds later that you're actually seeing movement? How have you fixed that? Because you are pushing this back into the headset, correct?
Yeah, correct. And this is actually just part of a big problem of latency. If you talk about the motion to photon latency for mobile, currently we see it's 140 milliseconds for this type of technology, and 80, like almost the half, of this latency is Android rendering. So it's lack of processing on Android side. And actually what Google announced a couple days ago promised to cut this latency to 20 milliseconds. So we have 60 millisecond cut just from hardware improvement. That's for Bluetooth latency. You are absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's currently 20 milliseconds, and we managed to get it below 10 milliseconds. But if you follow Bluetooth organization roadmap, they promised this year to cut latency for mobile twice. So they kind of understanding this issue. They working to next generation mobile headset will be much better suited for this type of technology. But if you find below video of testimonials of our people that try our device that show they surprisingly low latency, so they like it. It's already engaging experience.
Okay, so yeah, that was a little bit hard to hear, so let me see if I understand that correctly. So yes, I'm aware of the photon to motion latency and the figure that we're looking at, and yes, with Google Eye announcing Android VR, that is going to reduce it substantially. But I guess the most important thing is your connection to it. So I mean, we can only do so much as far as what we show on the screen, but we also have to interact with the IMU, and in this case, our multiple points using the Bluetooth. What type of Bluetooth are you working with?
It's standard Bluetooth. Standard.
I'm sorry?
Standard Bluetooth, not low energy.
Okay, so standard Bluetooth, so that gives you a little bit more range to work with. So the other thing that's very important, and I have up on my screen here some games, but in order to put out games, obviously you probably have a few that you're going to have available when this thing is released, but also as a developer, how would I be able to start building for this? What kind of development kit is available for it?
Currently we have development kits available to developers. You can reach to our developer page and in FAQ section of on IndieGoGo page. You can reach to us and we can ship you development kit. We have them available.
And from what I gathered, currently you have Unity and Unreal support. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So obviously, if you're a Unity or Unreal developer, that will make it very easy. And as you said, reach out to you for a developer kit. And see what else. Where are we at now? So obviously, as I had shown, and I'm kind of scrolling through it, there are quite a few games. They look very kind of like Unity games, probably a little, but yeah, they look very interesting, and you have some video here on some of them. So I'm assuming, let's say, yeah, so your model is flying. So I guess you have to flap your wings in this?
Yes, correct.
Or flap your arms, I guess you can. And then let's jump into ping pong. Now, one other thing that I don't know will be a concern or not is that you only have 30 frames per second. And so I noticed the person is moving somewhat slow there. What is the responsiveness? I know that some people complain the Kinect wasn't as responsive as it needs to be, and part of it is that frame rate. How are you getting past that?
No, it's one of limitations of the technology. We cannot compare latency to HTC Vive at the moment. Accuracy and latency lagging behind, and 6M the same. What's our advantage is going mobile, so ability to connect to mobile, and we actually searching for better depth sensing modules, and we believe next year depth sensors will be available with 60 frames per second. So it again will be much better.
Okay, so currently
so we are one software company, and we mainly hardware independent, better depth sensor, better solution.
So for what do you want to call it, high-speed action games, it's probably not something that you want to use this for, but as you said, you'll have 60 frames per second in an update. Will that be a software update, or?
No, it will be new version of hardware.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it will be a software update. Okay, so I have a chart up here that identifies the comparison of your product versus the NOD, which is a hand unit, and the STEM system, which I have my own background with. Yeah, let's just call it the vaporware system. You know, you can talk about all the specs you want, but it's not even there yet. And I've had Amir on several times and put him on the hot seat. So hopefully, well, not too many products fall into that category. And then we have the Leap, which I have as well, but it also has a very limited range. And but it's kind of cool. So here's the cool thing. You have a retail price of $349, but I'm going to jump down. Let's see, or was it actually up? Your pricing here is outstanding. $174 for one VicoVR sensor. So obviously that doesn't include the headset. Many people already have headsets. And later on, if you want to come back later on and watch this, I have my own little headset. Actually, I can show it right here. It is what I call the NeoDVR Play, or Uplay, and it's essentially a very large lensed clip-on that will also have a headset mount. So I'd love to see how this works with that, and I'll get you a pair as well so you can play with it. But $174, and then obviously if you need a headset, you have a $200 price range, and then the Buddy Pack, which is kind of interesting, 2 headsets and the sensor, because again, you can track multiple bodies, so you could have a couple of people. And again, since it's similar to the Kinect system, you're familiar with that, you're going to have the same thing here, except unlike the Kinect, where you're just looking at a large screen, here you're actually in VR interacting. I can't wait to try this. These things pretty cool. And you know, a little backstory on myself here. I have been working with Occipital, and last June we showed off what they call Inside Out. We mounted the structure sensor on a headset, and we've been able to move around and navigate in the environment. So it's a self-contained system. This, again, works outside of it like the Kinect. So I think there's a complement of products out there that can provide you a whole wealth of sensors now, and then with Google coming out with their new ability to work directly at this level with sensors, it's just, as they say, a great age to live in. All right, Dmitry, I really appreciate your time. It looks like you've got a great product up here. Hopefully, as people view this, they'll see the you know, the potential here. And as mentioned, you just launched this, what, a couple of days ago, and you're already halfway there. So let's get the word out there. It seems like a very fun product for very little money. And I'm really excited about it, and I will jump down to the bottom and sign up for your developer kit, because I want to get one of these as soon as possible and be able to review it on the air. Well, actually, I've got a green environment behind me, so I'll play with it on air for you. So it sounds pretty cool. All right, Dmitry, I really appreciate your time, and thank you for coming on. And again,
thank you.
I'll give you the last word. Anything
Michael,
special?
thank you for invitation. Thank you for invitation. I appreciate your support. We really need support to make this product to scale.
Okay. So, and again, another cool thing is you've got a, well, let's see if it says it here. It looks like November. So unlike a lot of products where you go ahead and make your pledge and then a year later, in some cases 3 years later, and still don't have a product, November is just around Christmas, so that's really exciting. I really hope you can meet that goal, because I know a lot of people will probably want to get this just because they'll have Christmas coming up. Dmitry, you sound like you've already got a good handle on it, got a good prototype there already, and I wish you a lot of luck. So thank you, Dmitry, and you're welcome to stay on. Oh, look at that. That's like right there. Very cool. So if you put a UPS or a USPS sticker on that, my address is, not just kidding. No, I would love to try that out. Okay. Well, thank you again, Dmitry, and I'll move on with my show. And
yes. And for anyone who is in San Francisco, they can reach to me to see live demo.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. So everyone, that is Dmitry from VicoVR. They just announced, and let's say we'll mute him so that we don't have that the background there. Sadly, it was a little difficult to hear him, so you'll have to pay a little bit more attention later on. But yes, VicoVR, great little device there. So if you're interested in a Kinect-like device that works directly with your headset using Bluetooth, look into it. I know I'm going to. So on to our show. Let's jump back to, and we didn't really cover it, Google I/O. So one of the things I was showing there was the Daydream controller first look. And essentially there is a controller that they're going to be releasing, and then I've already been playing with the latest Studio STK and Daydream, and you can actually turn, if you've got an older Android phone, you can turn it into a controller. So even though the controller's unavailable, you can emulate it through another phone so it can interact with a device. Sadly, the only device that works with it is the Nexus 6P. So if you're looking to start developing for it, that's the only device. I was able to use the new Unreal development kit as well last night, but I hurried and actually loaded the wrong map, so it tells me I couldn't load the map. So other than that, I was able to load it on my Pixel C, and it almost came up. So I'll have to go back and rebuild it. Sadly, Unreal takes a little bit of a while to build it, especially if you use ASTC texture mapping, which I shouldn't have done. That added to the time. But to give you kind of an idea, the direction I want to go, I've got a couple of images that I did, and I will have them in the show notes. This, they have what they call a camera capture that allows you to capture both video and still captures of 360 spherical panoramics. And as you can see there, it's fairly detailed. What I did is I took this, and then if you create a folder within, let's see, what's the program? The NVIDIA VR viewer that we showed last week, you just create a folder in your pictures called Pano, place these into it, and then you'll be able to see them and view them within the NVIDIA viewer. So I've got 2 of these. I'll put them in the show notes. They'll be out in my Google Drive folder, so if you want to try them. This is Ice Cove. It is a demo, what do you want to call it, project in Unreal Engine that I converted using this, but I'm also converting it into an actual Android VR little demo app as well. So I'll put that APK if you want to sideload into the, and that'll be another cool thing, is that unlike Gear VR, where you have to have a registered Gear VR device, what do you want to call it? The goal with the Android VR is that it will work with any Android VR compatible phone. And what that means is phones that have a beefier processor. And as I said, currently, at least in the Android Studio, you will only be able to use the 6P. So I went ahead and bought a used one. That's the other cool thing. A lot of the Nexus phones aren't that expensive when they first come out, and they're especially not that expensive. For about $300, you can pick up an Android 6P, which, if you remember, is a 5.7 Quad HD. Is that correct? Yes. Quad HD, which is 2560 by 1440 AMOLED screen. So might want to do that. You can pick it on Amazon or eBay. All right, so let's get into the news items today. And there is a ton of stuff. Let's kind of move into this item here in the 3D printing technology. And that is something we've covered several times on the show, and that is the Shapeways has ordered and will operate the new HP Multijet Fusion 3D printer. And if you remember, we've talked about this and really had no idea what kind of printer it would be, but obviously it does look like this. They've shipped it off to the Netherlands. I have submitted to be on the beta testings because I would like to see how this works out. Currently, it only prints in one color, and that's in my favorite color of black. However, it will be a multi-color printer. The strength behind this is that it is several times faster than their current SLS printers. So with that in mind, as you can see there, there's the powder-based material. It'll get fast, high quality, accurate components. The detail is better than what you have currently. And again, as I said, it's only in black nylon. So like I said, it's my favorite color. So that is pretty cool. But yes, color will be coming and I'll be on the beta test. So I will do a couple of products from them and see how it turns out. Because sadly, I can't afford a beast like this. But if you've never used Shapeways, might be an opportunity to try them. They have not only the SLS that we've talked about and a lot of my products that I prototype from come from, but they also now start doing FDM in accelerated print capabilities. So you can have like 1 or 2 day turnaround at a lower cost. So that is the new HV Multijet and coming to a Shapeways near you. Currently it's in the Netherlands, but they will have one. If I remember correctly, there are other locations in Brooklyn, so it will be there as well. All right, so that is our 3D and technology. And let me get back to my agenda here. So, and our next item, actually, I thought this is kind of cool. Let's see, here we go. And I'll just run the video here. So, Tested had the opportunity to actually go out and visit somebody who actually has a Carbon 3D and got a very intimate and detailed view of the Carbon 3D, or excuse me, the Carbon M1 as it's called here, or Carbon 3D. If you remember, this is the extremely fast SLA type printer that came out that we were all excited about and had a lot of discussions. It was really hot in Reddit for a while because why? It was several times faster than the Formlabs or any other type of SLA at the time. And obviously there are others that are trying to compete in this market. The build side isn't that dramatic, but the performances, and as you can see from the number of views, many people are also interested in this. If you're interested in getting components from that, Sculptio has one of these, actually has several. However, keep in mind the cost of the parts are fairly expensive. So unless you have a specific need for high detailed SLA type printing, you probably won't want to move into this area. So I thought that was a very good look at the Carbon 3D. Lots of detail, lots of information on the type of materials that it can print with. And so if you're interested in this type of thing, the link will be in the show notes. All right, so our next item is kind of an update. Do you remember the guy that we talked about? Let's see if this is it here, who printed his own Viz Align? I guess that's the trademark name for this type of thing. But essentially made impressions of his teeth, created a positive, then scanned them with the same type of scanner that I have, and then was able to run a material over it, just like the Invisaligns, to create his own Invisalign type product that he put in his mouth and was actually able to straighten his teeth. There's a picture of his teeth. So he actually had figured out the amount of spacing required, and he manipulated the 3D model, and he wore this. This became a big sensation. And I guess the motto of this story is, if you put your mind to it and create your own products, you might get a job at Formlabs. Yep, that's right. Formlabs decided to hire this guy. He's graduating, I guess, this week, and he will have a new job out at Formlabs. So I would say they saw the potential of what he's doing. Look at that. He's got his molds there. So you know, if you remember, gosh, almost 2 years ago, I was with Dr. Dan Kopp, a local dentist who uses what they call the iTero scanning system, which you put in your mouth and you actually do three-dimensional scans. We scanned mine. I actually created a set of, let's see, do I have it in front of me here? No, but I can go get it. But I created my own. Actually, hang on. I'll get it in a second. All right, I'm back. So here is the ones that I created for myself. There we go. So this was made on the Formlabs. Actually, it was the Form 1. Let me get my headset back in. And gosh, this is almost, yeah, it's over 2 years ago. Slightly yellowed down because that is one of the problems with the clear. But yeah, I created these based upon the iTero scan. And then I had a cavity and I just said, you know, I'm going to actually 3D print my own cavity. Actually, I created the positive from this, and then they were able to actually mold it from it, but it was too expensive. So we went with the standard bonding material, but kind of cool that there's applications for that. Keep in mind that this material is toxic, so don't try to print the Invisalign type thing that he's doing in that material, but who knows, maybe one of the reasons that he's hired by Formlabs, other than for his unique creativity, is that they might be coming out with a medical safe SLA material. Who knows? There's hope for it, at least for me. As you know, both Chris and I both have SLA printers. So if that's going to happen, that would be kind of neat. All right, so let's move into design, architecture, and engineering. And this next item is really cool. And actually, it's a little video. If you remember, gosh, it's been a while too, we had, let's see, what was his name? He was a guy from Germany. Geez, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. Where is he at? Well, that doesn't help me. Here we go. I didn't put his name in here. Well, you'll recognize him in a moment. But here is his video, and I'll go ahead and play it. I think it's kind of fun. Remember the stop motion cartoons from the past. So he 3D printed these. And like I said, we did an interview with him. And I actually have the interview in my show notes. MakerFaire, if I remember correctly, was his name. And sorry I asked him to come on. I apologize for a memory slip. But let's see, I'll bring it up here in a moment. So I thought that that was kind of cool. Let's see. So here's the actual video, and then I am actually playing in the background there. But yes, it was MakerFaire. He's from Germany, and he's created a series of very articulated characters in 3D. And if you want to know more about how I created them, you can jump back to that video that I did. Look at all the characters he has in the background there. And obviously, he's been putting them to use, creating his own Saturday morning stop motion cartoons. Thought it was kind of funny. Brought a smile to my face. So if you're interested more in how to do stop motion and creating articulated characters, he would be your go-to guy. All right, so on to our next item. Let's see where we're at. We are, there we go. Yeah, and that's the actual article out on 3dprint.com. So you'll be able to take a look at it there too. And they go through and they kind of talk about all of his characters and the process that he used. One of the things, I think he was using a commercial-based 3D printer. I can't remember the name of it at this particular time, but He actually showed us it. It was actually in his house, took up probably half of his apartment. Okay, so the other item we're going to get into is 3D in medicine. And I thought this was kind of interesting because it's more of a scam article than actually any pertinent information. And you might want to be, if you're expecting, or if your wife's pregnant, or you may be pregnant and you're planning to go get an ultrasound, beware. Essentially, as we've talked about in the past, and I've talked about how you can actually 3D print an ultrasound, it appears that many people come in and get videos or images of what they assume to be their fetus. Yet in this particular case, I think, where are we at? I want to say Ontario. This particular company wasn't actually printing, meaning printing 2D images of their particular child. They were printing stock images, probably that came as a demo, and or images they had from somewhere else. So my speculation is, even though they don't go through it here, they charged $163, but they really probably didn't buy the software to be able to print actual ultrasound images, and they were just providing stock images. And this person had found out because they put it on social media and found out that their picture looked quite like somebody else's, as you can see there. So they were literally using stock images and trying to pass those off. And in one case in this article, they talked about how they wanted to actually see the gender, which is why a lot of people do this as well. And they were told that they couldn't. And when they wanted to print these, they were always told to go wait out in the waiting room. And if you've actually seen a setup like this, which I have, the 3D print or the 2D printer is right there and available to you. Now, actually 3D printing one of these is a lot more work. It does require another package. And I have a couple episodes back, I talked about that process, and have some more detailed notes if you're interested yourself in doing this. You do need a particular file from in this case, the one that I've been working with is a GE Vuze, and you will need that particular file to work with it, and it has to be a certain type of what they call a VOL file, and you'll need to use a proprietary piece of software that luckily has a demo version that you can find online to be able to do that. But that's only part of the story. There's a lot more to getting your actual 3D object out of it. But if you wanted to do something like that, I created a pendant earlier on the show, so you could do something fun like that, or a charm or something like that of your little child. So I thought that was kind of cool. And there's been other companies that have done that as well. So keep that in mind. Forewarned, you may not be getting your actual ultrasound images of your baby. So that is our 3D in medicine. So let's move into Scanner Darkly. And let's see what we got for Scanner Darkly. Actually, I think that, if you're looking for the killer app in 3D scanning, and as you know, I have been working on an app with a company called BioStep to do scanning of feet to create orthotics. And however, as we've talked about before, there have been a number of companies who have created orthotics and prosthetics. And in this case, this company, and I think I actually have a link. If not, it'll be in the show notes. But this particular company called Standard Cyborg, let's see if this link takes me out to their website. Yeah, actually, I have it already, which is right here. And it's not loading. Oh, there we go. And what they have done is they've created a scanning package that you buy, as well as a license, an annual license. And I guess you get a free structure sensor along with it. But it'll allow you to scan, the missing appendage, and also scan possibly the other, let's say if they have a known good limb. And from there, they have some sculpting software. And one of the things that I was told from Adam, who is the marketing rep at Occipital, is that they're trying to create more, I wouldn't say ornamental, but adding a little bit of flair to the prosthetics. And you can do that by, once you have the particular area of the, as they call it, the stump or the missing area, you can then custom make specifically the prosthetic to fit in that. And from what I've been told myself from some people who have prosthetics, that this is extremely important to get to match that area of the missing limb. Otherwise, you get chafing and actually soreness. So that's something that's extremely important. I think 3D scanning is going to play an extremely important role. In my opinion, will probably be the killer app, at least in the medical community. So if you're looking for another company, or if you're into not orthotics, but prosthetics, you might look to Standard Cyborg to get up a package and work with this. So that's our 3D in medicine. And I'm sorry, actually it's a medical item, but it's 3D scanner darkly. So let's go into the VR corner, and we have quite a bit to talk about in the VR corner today. And one of the items that we just talked about was Google I/O. But another great announcement, and my friend, the CEO of SketchFab, has just announced a product called SketchFab VR, which is an app that's currently available in Google Cardboard, web, iOS, and the HTC Vive, and I guess there will be a release of the Oculus Rift. But what makes this a little different, let's see if we got some images here, is that they curated different areas, and for instance, areas, spaces, animals, medical, sculptures, cars, and landscapes. Or actually, I think this one over here is 3D, and this is a Minecraft cathedral. But essentially, you load it up, and it provides you a menu system, like if you're familiar with the Gear VR, similar to that. Actually, I think it's a little bit better. And you can select these, and essentially, it's using the tap functionality of Google Cardboard, and then you go into these, and you actually have different locations that you're placed in. So it becomes extremely immersive. So you can be seated, like in this case here, the chair. If you remember, this is what I called Inside or Being Van Gogh. This was done by Ruslan, and we've had him on, and we've had some of his stuff on. Very talented 3D artist who is an immigrant from Russia to France. And yes, very talented. He's gotten a lot of, what do you want to call it, attention from this, but it allows you to actually be within a Van Gogh painting. Now, if Van Gogh had this himself, he'd probably be, well, he might be turning around in his grave right now, in a good way, because I think this is a great way to experience art from the past. So imagine being able to sit into a Van Gogh painting. Well, with SketchFab, this is one of their models, and literally you'd get, you can't move around in it. Remember, that was the demo that I showed with my occipital structure sensor using, as I call it, AVR, which is environmental awareness, virtual reality, that I was able to walk around in the room. But here you have fixed positions. One is on the seat, one standing up. And that's the cool thing behind these environments, is that you can actually put in key hotspots. Now, in talking with the CEO of SketchFab, I sent him out an email. This is not available yet from a developer's perspective. So you can't create your own version of the Android or the iOS app and curate your own 3D object. You're still stuck to the web version of it. But that is coming, and so that'll be very cool, very immersive. If you have not had an opportunity, it's free. Go ahead and check it out. I did, and really cool little product. Again, though, it's only working with some curated items. All right, so let's move on to the next item, which I am extremely excited about, because, I'm a man without very much money, and I really can't afford some of those more expensive units from companies like Nokia and Google with their jump cameras. This is a product called Vuze that is taking pre-orders right now to be available in the fall. So for about $800, you can get a very compact, a multi-camera, 360 spherical But most important, and let's see if they identify it. They call it 3D 360, but in reality, as you can see here, it is stereo captured. So you have 8 cameras, 2 on each side to cover the entire 360 panoramic view in stereo. So you get 3-dimensionality. And if you have checked out any of the jump videos out on YouTube, or even some of mine that I've captured in 3D, it adds a whole nother depth that you cannot see in others. Now, the other good thing is this is an actual 4K camera. Now, one thing I did notice is that there are no videos, so that kind of concerns me. I do have some conversations. Let's go to the fact page um, with them to have them on the show. Maybe they'll actually provide me some footage. But if you have questions about it, you can go out to their fact page. And if you're interested in a very compact unit, let's see if I've got in. It's about, I don't know, probably about the size of my, I have it plugged in, but probably the size of my little tablet here that you can put on a tripod. So I'm really looking forward to that. And we'll probably start using that instead of my V.360, which is a nice little cylinder-based 360 camera, but something like this would be super cool to take on the road and capture when I'm doing live trade shows and things like that. So again, Vuze is the company to look at. So let's move on into headsets. This one I thought was very interesting because one, Star VR actually is, we have a little video, I'll run it in the background here, but Star VR is a project based upon another company's headset. And if you remember, and I don't actually have the name here, do you remember that headset that literally was 2 AMOLED panels that they tilted off to the side, giving you like 230 degrees? Well, it appears that Acer is now backing this company to develop it. However, the sad thing is, you know, even though you have a wide field of view, it has like 4K image. There you go. There's an image of it there. The problem is it comes with a fairly pricey price tag. So if you thought that the HTC Vive or the Oculus is a little steep in pricing, be prepared. Deep pockets for this. If I remember correctly, it's going to be about $3,500. So, however, as mentioned, you have an extremely wide field of view with this, and they're working on an optical tracking system there, as you saw, so that you'll be able to immerse yourself. They've been running a demo that in different cities with the Walking Dead game, so that you actually feel completely immersed with it. Here they actually talk about the process of their optical system. But man, that's a big little unit there, big little unit. So I think that's kind of cool. But if is as immersive as they say it is, that's something that a lot of people complain about, and something that I have been working on feverishly is to create an even more immersive environment. My goal is to use larger lenses as close to the eyes as possible. This is, you know, a direction that I had looked at going into, but as mentioned, this company has moved forward with it. They now have some pretty good backing, and they're taking this on the road. Let's see, I don't know if they identify. Yeah, here we go. So here's where they're going to be over the next, actually, I think this was, yeah, this might be this year, but they'll be both on the East Coast and the West Coast. And then here's their timeline of actually, gosh, we're well past 2015. But here are some of the partners. So I have signed up, and we'll see about getting them on the show. But kind of a cool unit, except it's going to have a fairly steep price tag. But if you've got some money and you want the best, this might be the direction to go. It's still in development, so you may have to wait a while. All right, so let's move on to our next item. Let's see where we're at. Well, actually, I think we're at my X section right now. So let me go in. There's a couple things I wanted to show. Let's see. One is, I already brought it up before, but if you have not tried out Unreal Engine, especially their new preview, which is 4.12, in June 1st, they will actually have Android VR available as a download. Currently, you have to compile it yourself, which I did last night. So if you have some developing skills, and really there isn't that much, you just download it using GitHub or GitHub, yeah, and bring it in and just run a couple of batch files, and about an hour later you have a compiled version of this if everything was successful. Luckily for me, mine was. And however, you don't need it for this. You can use the standard version to create what they call the Pano capture feature. I can't remember the exact name. It's a capture plugin. You enable it, and there's some command line features. So there's a great article out at the Unreal Developer on how to use it. But you can create captures, and actually creates dual pairs, but then you can create a little script to do an over and under. I just brought mine into Photoshop to do this one here. And you can also go, I think this is 4096 by 4096, but you can go out to as large as you want. I think you can do 8K, which I think is what they suggest to get high quality spherical panoramics. And as I mentioned, you can run this in the NVIDIA viewer. And so great quality. This is as the Ice Cove that I have been experimenting with in VR. It is, if you played the Infinity Blade on your iPad or your tablet, actually being in the environment itself is as you can imagine, a way cooler experience. So hopefully I'll have an APK done this weekend and have it out in the show notes. I'll at least have a link to the folder, and then you can download it and play with it yourself. I don't know if there will be any requirements with Android VR currently. I will experiment with a couple of devices I have and let you know if it's limited to one or two types of devices. Also, if you have, one of the things I'm trying to push it towards is the NVIDIA K1 tablets, and see how it works there. If you remember, with the new Marshmallow update, they do support Vulkan, and one of the things I am setting this up for is to work with Vulkan as well to see what performance is like. So if you've got one of their tablets or the Shield TV, you might look at that. I also will have a Nexus 6P, so I'll be experimenting with that, as well as a Nexus 6 to see if it'll run on that with any better performance. So check back in the show notes. I have a little article, but that will be cool. The other thing I want to show is, last week I talked about something that I've been working on called the NeoDVR Uplay, lowercase u, uppercase PLA, and then a lowercase y. And if you remember last year, I had showed off around Christmas a version of this. It started out as a paper version on Thanksgiving, and then it turned into a plastic version. I made the STLs available on Umagine, and then I also made the models at no markup available on Shapeways if you wanted to print the component. Well, I have moved into a newer version of it that now uses a very large lens, and I will keep the size of the lens a little hush-hush right now. But the big difference is it uses a new Fresnel lens technology, which I discussed a little bit on the show. And as you can see, very thin, very compact. Right now I have just some gaffer's tape, but this will be a plastic panel that fits on the top of the phone. In fact, I'll actually give a demonstration with my Note 4. But essentially, you slip it in, like that. And the reason I went with the, there's the Go 4D, which we've talked about on the show, and also the Hamato Mini. Both of them are great, but the problem I had with both is that they use very small lenses. And so you kind of lose the immersion. And plus, because it extends over the phone like this, you have too much ambient light around it. So you lose a lot of that immersion. So I wanted to get past that, but still have a compact, pocketable device. So I came up with this. So if you see here, these are little lens flaps, and they fit over the lens to protect them, because obviously they're very large lenses. And then the flap, which will be another plastic component, is also hinged, and it will protect the lower part of it. And then the legs extend over the top of it. And then you have a very compact item that you can, as you notice, I pulled it out of my pocket and be able to view. Now, the important thing is, and it'll be difficult for you to see it here, but I'll put it up to my eyes. Because the lens protectors act like flaps, you don't get complete prevention of ambient or glare, but you get more than what you would have otherwise. And because your eyes are literally almost on top of the lenses themselves, you get complete immersion. And I frankly was very, very surprised on the results of this. And I'm thinking probably a little bit less than $30 for this. But my real goal is I'm making a smaller version of this. If you remember, I talked about my children's version of the Clippy and ran a unsuccessful Kickstarter. It appeared that nobody really wanted to buy a VR experience for children. But then I did a very successful campaign called VR Miracle for children's hospitals. And I can, as I've said, if you've watched any of that, it was very important to me because it allowed me to be able to use this particular product or my particular version to bring them into hospitals and allow children to immerse themselves, either to distract them from pain, or could use for physical therapy. But obviously there's a lot of opportunities in hospitals where children may be confined to be brought into another world. So I am working early this year to make next year an even better success. And one of the things that I had planned is if you back or pledge towards that, you would get a free NeoDVR Uplay. So that's really my goal. But then people are wanting this, so who knows where it'll go. I may actually be able to produce this in larger quantity for a very reasonable price. I'll show you another little image that I've been working on. As if you've been following it, it also has the ability with this very inexpensive head mount to be able to use with a clip your phone in front of your eyes, so it can be hands-free. And one of the things I was working on is a clip-on, or actually you kind of insert it, plug it in, little eye cups to provide even more protection from ambient light. So if you're interested in something like that, very low cost, high level of immersion, I mean, superior to anything else out there, you might want to look into it. The cool thing is, as you can see here, this is a 5.7 Note 4. I've tried it on the, let's see, what is it? The Nexus 6 on my iPhone 6S Plus. Because these little balls and the nylon extension legs here, and I'll probably go with high impact ABS. It has a little bit of elasticity and allows you to encircle or wrap the phone and hold it securely using two sides on top and the bottom, like I have here. You can slide the phone in and provide security and placement. One of the things that I didn't like about the Go 4D is that your alignment of where it needs to be positioned wasn't as exact as I liked it to be. So that's one of the reasons I did it. So it's centered in the screen. You kind of have to shift it a little bit to make sure it's centered in the middle of the screen to provide the best stereo function. I do have this going out to a few developers in the cardboard world, probably in about 3 weeks. So we'll get some feedback on that. But if everything goes right, this will be your pledge reward if you back the IndieGoGo, I'm going to call it nonprofit fundraising for the VR Miracle this holiday season. So look forward to that. So let's see. I think that's about it. I am working with the Android VR over the weekend and a few other items. So you might want to check back. I'll have some post in the Google Cardboard area. And so let's look at our calendars. Let's see, get back to this. So in the calendar, one of the things that's going on, and hopefully, geez, can't talk this morning. I was hoping that Chris would join us from MakerFaire. He was invited up there, I guess, so he may not have had the time. I was hoping that he could do a little bit of a live interview today with me of the show, maybe talk about a tip or two, but he either didn't get my text message or is too busy. But that is going on this weekend. So if you're in the San Mateo area or the Bay Area, head down there. They always have a lot of new stuff to be shown. In fact, maybe a couple of those SLAs that we've talked about in the last couple of months will be there as well. I've suggested that they head out there. They have a cool little VR section now. It wasn't that big last year, but I think it may have grown. They had a one pavilion that was completely in the dark with a lot of UV glow-in-the-dark stuff. Very cool, very surreal, very fun. It has a carnival fair type atmosphere. I guess that's why it's called the MakerFaire. So lots of food, lots of people. You can go back to 2015 and see all my footage from last year. I spent 3 days there. A little burned out, didn't go this year, but we'll spend more time next Friday talking about Chris's adventures there. So what else do we have going on? We have the Rapid 2016, which is now over. 3D Print in South Africa 2021, MakerFaire Bay Area, we just talked about that. The Inside Printing next week in France, and then also MakerFaire in Hanover. So if you're in Germany, head out to that one as well. In the VR area, nothing, I guess. I do know that in early June, we have AWE. That's not AWE, but AWE, which is Augmented World Expo, if I remember correctly. They have branched out. I did cover that last year as well. Hopefully I'll be there this year. They did branch out and had a room set up specifically for VR, which got a lot of attraction. And I went through, and my friend Amir was there again, which I got an interview with. So Amir, hopefully you're out there and you're following through on what we talked about. And obviously a lot of people, feedback I've gotten aren't completely in your camp. They didn't find what you had said substantial enough, I guess, and they were scratching their heads. So we'll see, Amir, where we go with that. What else is going on? I think, and I don't know the exact date, E3. And E3 is a gaming convention, but they also have a tendency to show off, as many of the shows this year, a lot of virtual reality too. So there may be some new announcements there. We'll keep you informed. Other than that, I think that's about it for today. So I'd like to thank our guests today. It was great to have Dmitry on from VicoVR, which is their Kinect-like product that runs through Bluetooth for your VR device. If you joined late, didn't catch it, jump back to the beginning of this. Sadly, his audio wasn't very good, but I did try to answer or ask him yes or no questions and elaborate some of the items that I believe the product to work like. I'm looking forward to it. It's very reasonably priced. And we'll come back with some more details on that HP Multijet. And Chris will be back next week and give us a more in-depth coverage of what he saw at MakerFaire. So on that note, hey, thank you for joining me, and enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye.